Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Sharon Bown, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Warrant Officer Philip Robertson. We warmly welcome the family of Trooper John Oswald Carter, whose story will be told shortly. We are honoured to acknowledge Brigadier General Ong Chu Chin, Director of Military Intelligence Singapore, and Major General Matthew Hall, Director, Defence Intelligence Organisation, and their accompanying delegation. We also welcome members of the Australian Heritage Council who are in attendance today. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family, visitors, and students on behalf of the following schools: from New South Wales, Kiama Public School, Albury Public School, and Drummoyne Public School. Please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Trooper John Carter. Popularly known as Jack, John Oswald Carter was born in Albury in New South Wales, the youngest son of James Carter. He was educated at Melbourne Grammar School, and according to a local paper, he was in Scotland when the war broke out and was offered a commission in Lord Lovett's Scouts. But John Carter preferred to enlist in Australia, which he did in December of 1914. The 23-year-old was assigned to the 6th Regiment of the Australian Light Horse, which, together with the 5th and 7th Light Horse Regiment, made up the 2nd Light Horse Brigade. Carter embarked for service overseas in March 1915, and after a few months at Mahdi Camp in Egypt, he joined his regiment on Anzac in mid-July. The 2nd Light Horse Brigade was attached to the 1st Australian Division, and the 6th Light Horse became responsible for the sector on the far right of the Anzac line. It mostly played a defensive role whilst on the peninsula. On the 4th of October, there was an enemy bombardment that lasted about 30 minutes in the 6th Light Horse Regiment's sector. Carter was entering a communications trench when, according to a fellow soldier's report, he was hit with shrapnel bullets on the right side of his head. Another member of his squadron said that he was with Carter after he was hit, when he was taken to the beach. Corporal Sanders reported that Carter was unconscious when he was taken to the hospital ship. Carter died later that day of his wounds aboard the hospital ship Assay and was buried at sea between Anzac and Limbros Island. Today, his name appears on the Lone Pine Memorial on Gallipoli. In February 1916, a memorial service was held for Trooper Carter at his family's local parish church, and according to reports in the Young Witness on the 25th of February, the church was draped with flags and large congregation was present. Had it not been for a wet night, the church would have been filled to overflowing, as it was many came along distance to be present. Trooper John Carter's name is also listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst the more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is one of but many of those stories of service and sacrifices told here at the Australian War Memorial, and we now remember Trooper John Oswald Carter, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and for the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.